Alright, hello again everybody. So as you could probably tell from the title, I got a new personal best country streak, and it is a record as well. And so I am happy to share with you guys the video of it and do a voiceover for it. So I was just doing it on my laptop when I just felt like it without recording audio. Obviously, I was just going through it quick, feeling relaxed, so didn't really want to do explanations like right there and then. So yeah, I'm doing a voiceover. And then one other difference with this video is that from now on, we will be using a record browser. So GeoTips made a new record browser, which, as you can see here, shows the exact timestamp, and then also shows when your mouse is on like the browser. So that should help to try and weed out any cheaters who use like Googling and then like frame cutting. So yeah, and then hopefully just show to everyone that like the people who actually get these records are legit and yeah, they deserve the credit that they get. So yeah, let's go into the video. And so yeah. All right, so first thing, as you can tell, I just go right away into the map. So I don't spend a lot of time on these rounds. If I know it right away, I'm just going to go to the next one. So I'm going to be pausing the video to talk a little bit about what I see. So here we got the yellow license plates. We have Gen 2 camera, and then these sort of just yellow pastel or just white colored houses with the gray roofs. And so all of that is pointing me towards Luxembourg. So I zoom right away on Luxembourg. All right, here to start off, we have these very, very large intersections, and that's very common in Russia, the white lines as well. And then just to make sure, we have the black car with the long antenna. So it just looked like somewhere maybe in Siberia, click sort of in the middle. Yeah, it was a little far north, but yeah. Here I again go right away into the map, but what I see here is these metal fences with these individual houses, and that's very common in South Africa. So they'll either have these metal fences or stone walls around their houses. And then the Gen 2 means that it can only be South Africa and not any other Southern African country. All right. Next round, we have the yellow inside lines, and then this pole has these yellow and black diagonal stripes that go all the way down to the very bottom of the pole, and that tells me that it is Taiwan. And here we got Sevilla, so pretty easy one, tells me that we should be somewhere in southern Spain. All right, so here we got some English, and then I do zoom into this southern part of Africa, thinking it's South Africa. We do have these metal fences again, as you can see here, stop sign on the left. It is Gen 3, so there is a chance it could be like Lesotho or Eswatini, but now I'm just trying to make sure, like 100%. And I see here it says Lewisam Library, which definitely sounds like it would be in South Africa. It's unlikely that like this English name would be in Lesotho or Eswatini. So yeah. All right, here if you look at the houses, definitely feel Mediterranean. The red tiled roofs, kind of this light color or reddish color. And then I zoom here and I see these French signs. So they're white with maybe a little bit of black at the end over here, and then the black writing, and they have like a specific font for the French ones, which is pretty recognizable as well. So yeah, because it's so Mediterranean feeling, I thought it might be Corsica, and it was indeed. So that's nice. All right, here, this one is a little bit tougher. Definitely feels like somewhere in Europe. We have just flat agricultural feeling. Not much to go off of. Can't really read that language, unfortunately. Looking at this house a little bit. Let me go back to it here. It's like a stone house, maybe a little bit of brick on it. So that was leaning me towards France or Belgium. The flatness definitely does fit with northern France and Belgium. And then I'm trying to see if there's anything to tell apart the two. And I do eventually see here. This pole, which has like a wider bottom, and then it gets a little bit thinner at the top, and it's made out of concrete. It's like pretty thick looking, as you can see. That is typical for France, and I don't think you would find that in Belgium. So I go in France. And then here, very dry landscape, feels Middle Eastern definitely. And then we have a black car down here. Kind of make out maybe yellow lines on the outside. But the big thing here is the black car. So out of the Middle Eastern countries, only Jordan can have the black car without an antenna. So Israel can have black car with antenna, but Jordan is always without. So I zoom into Jordan. I kind of remembered, like, I saw this, like, canyon over here, and I felt like I'd seen that before. I thought maybe over here because there's a river, but it was a little farther down. Yeah, you can kind of make it out on the map. All right, here we have these red tiled roofs, which are very common for Brazil. We also have this antenna over here that's like, or a satellite dish, sorry, kind of transparent. You can see through it. That's also typical for Brazil. The white car that's pretty blurred out, that's also Brazilian. And then over here I can actually make out, it says Presidente Prudente, which is a Brazilian town in Sao Paulo. So recognize it and get a pretty good score on it. All right, and that's 10. Okay. Here, definitely feels like US or Canada. We have just the types of houses that you would see in a suburban area of those two countries. Looks like we have white plates here, and their front plates. So yeah, and then over there, truck also has a front plate. It says Henderson. The street signs just sort of make me lean towards the US. Also, these houses, and then those houses as well over here. The type that they have like this like outer area, outer section that's like the garage, and then also this porch in the front. That's just very typical for the US. I wouldn't say that would be as common in Canada, for example. So yeah, just making sure there's not any other clues that would point me away from the United States. But yeah, I go into the United States. All right, here definitely feels like Southeast Asia. This sort of house on the stilts made of wood. The white lines, and we have a white solid line in the center, which would point me towards Malaysia or Indonesia. And then the white car, which out of Southeast Asian countries can be, for example, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. But with the white single line, it should be, and driving left, it should be Malaysia or Indonesia. And really just the landscape of it, we do have some oil palms over here. And then the quality of the road pointed me towards Malaysia. It is sort of just it just gave me the feeling of Malaysia, really. So yeah. All right, here is what I would say is like a pretty typical Brazilian round. So these green rolling hills, the yellow inside lines, Gen 4. And so yeah, pretty straightforward Brazil. I zoom in right away. All right, here it's kind of hard to make out, but we have this yellow line and then these white dashes, and that's in Argentina and Uruguay. And then we have a black car as well, which is in both countries. And then over here, I can make out there is a Argentinian kilometer marker, which means that we cannot be in Uruguay. And based off the landscape, like very flat agricultural, I thought we would probably be in Buenos Aires province, and we were. All right, here really it's just the language. I could tell that it was Thai and not Lao or Cambodian or Khmer, sorry. Um, Really it's just like starting to recognize like maybe a couple of letters which would point you towards uh, Thai instead of those two. So, yeah. All right, and it was right by the border with Laos, but it was Thailand, so all good. All right, here we have this Coca-Cola sign, which is pretty common in Mexico. Also, the gray brick, gray like cinder block, that's very common in Mexico, and American cars over here, old American cars, that's very common in Mexico. And then over here, it actually says the state. So VER is Veracruz. Um, so yeah, Mexico does that a lot where they'll have three-letter abbreviations for their states. And yeah. All right, this one is fairly straightforward. We got the low cam, so the car is bigger and like the blur is bigger. And then we have the yellow line in the middle, and then these fluffy trees, which I talked about in my last video. Very nice. So yeah, somewhere in Japan. All right, here we got English, Dundee Resort. We got the yellow lines in the middle, and then a lot of evergreen trees, which made me think we would probably be somewhere farther north. So that's why I was leaning towards Canada here. And then, yeah, I was trying to think where. Nova Scotia, it really just gave me that vibe with these evergreen forests. Like, Nova Scotia is very foresty. And then it also sort of just has this fall coverage feel to it. I've noticed a lot, so that kind of pointed me towards Nova Scotia. Here it says Knock Hall, and then we have this house that's just like very gray, like a entirely gray wall, and that's very common in Scotland or Northern England. So I go in Scotland. I think it was, yeah, just over the border in Northern England. Here we have a black car. Can't really make it out well again, but it looks like we have a white dash and then a yellow solid line. And then just the landscape definitely felt like dry with a lot of these just shrubs, and that's very typical for Patagonia area of Argentina. All right. Here, this is like very typical landscape for Peru with these terraces on the mountainside. We have eucalyptus trees here. There's a lot of planted eucalyptus trees in Peru. And then these white and black signposts are only in Peru out of the South American countries. So that tells me 100% we are in Peru. All right. Here we have this very large intersection again. Can't really make out the car, but it looks like we have a longer antenna, but definitely just all of these birch trees and pine trees over here also tell me that we should probably be in Russia. All right, this one was a little bit tough. I was between Australia and New Zealand, but I see a lot of eucalyptus trees over here. There's also some Norfolk pines, which are a lot more common in Australia, although obviously not 100% just in Australia. Trying to see if there's any plates I see, but yeah, it also feels pretty tropical. A lot of the trees feel more tropical. There were some palms as well, as you can see here. Trying to check the trash bins, see if there's anything that would tell me the city maybe, but no. So because it was so tropical, I thought we might be farther north in Queensland. So I was thinking maybe like Townsville or Cairns, but it was actually just near Brisbane or Gold Coast. I actually don't know if it was Queensland or New South Wales actually, but it doesn't really matter. Here we got these yellow and black vertical stripes on the pole. That's something you see in Japan. And then the car was closer to the ground again, or the camera, sorry, was closer to the ground. So we had a larger car. So that means we had to be in Japan or Switzerland, and obviously Japan is what it looked like. Um, and here we got Cyrillic, and then these signposts have black at the bottom and the rest is white, and that is in Russia only. So we are in Russia, and now we're at 25. So 1/4 of the way to 100. So going pretty fast, I would say. Not wasting too much time. Right? This just really feels like the United States. You got, yeah, don't really know how to explain it. Um, just sort of felt more like the United States and Canada, and I think the PNC Bank is just a U.S. brand, so I went U.S. quick. It's really just I recognize the United States right away because I live here. This one, we got all these bollards alongside the road. That's very common in Russia for some reason. They like to put a billion bollards right next to each other. And yeah, they're the Russian type of bollard as well. So they have like a white top and then black and red down here. And then I think we could also make out the black car with the antenna. And here we have white car, yellow outside lines, white inside line, and very, very deserty. And so that immediately pointed me towards Botswana, and it was Gen 3 as well. Pretty close to the South African border, but it was indeed Botswana. All right, here we have a red car with a long antenna, and that means we are in Ukraine. Also, very bad road. That's very common in Ukraine for some reason. And yeah, the landscape also felt like it with all those pine trees. All right, here I go right away. Don't even have time to show you the location, but we had the white inside lines with the, let me go back to it. So here, so these white inside lines with like these dashes in between, and then yellow outside lines, and then this red and white chevron sign, which means that we could be only in South Africa, and then also the Gen 2 as well. All right. Here, looks like US or Canada again, but I could just make out there was a Alberta bollard, I believe, over here, this white and black one. Oh, never mind. Yeah, see, this is a problem with when you're doing a voiceover. Yeah. Um, it looks like the Albertan baller, but it's not actually. I think it's just like a random stick in the ground. Otherwise, I don't really know why I lean US over Canada. I would say it probably looks more like the US, like the Midwest, but it would be kind of difficult. The signpost is like metal, not wooden. That is something you see more in the United States, although you can also see metal signposts in Canada and wooden in the US. But yeah, and then this church kind of feels like something you would see in the US, especially with this sign. I see that a lot, especially on like Baptist and Methodist churches. So yeah. All right, here we got these dashed outside lines, and then also the inside lines are dashed, and that's something I've noticed in France, and I think I've seen them also in Spain and Portugal. We have Gen 2, but it's like this really like exposed Gen 2, and I've seen that a lot in France. And then here is a bollard, which tells me that we are 100% in France because we got it's like thicker, it's white mostly, and then with like a red stripe going around. And that's only in France. It's actually also in Scotland, but obviously it's not. This is in Scotland. So yeah, this, we got the yellow inside lines, double yellow, which would mean most likely the United States. Also, a lot of these evergreen trees kind of points me towards somewhere out west. And then here I do see we got 25 miles per hour, so 100% we are in the US. I'm thinking somewhere up here in this northwestern area, especially with these evergreen trees and pine trees. So yeah, it was Idaho, so I got pretty close there. Right, this is Malaysia. Really, the thing here is the architecture. I think I was looking at. It's very common for them to have like these two-floored houses or with this gray color. They're very simple like this. The columns are also something you see a bit. And then if we do see a pole, I don't know if we can see a pole, but the poles usually have or like this, like just round, and then they have this black sticker on them. And then the white car, which I said can be found in Malaysia. So yeah. All right, here very dry. We got the black car again. Black car, which could be Argentina. I did say Jordan as well, but this doesn't really feel like Jordan. Um, it really feels like Argentina, especially with these very long ridges. If I go back, you can see there's one ridge there, another really long mountain ridge here. That's very common in the northwestern part of Argentina, I've noticed. So yeah, and it's obviously too dry for Ecuador, so can't be Ecuador. Or sorry, not Ecuador, Uruguay. And yeah, so I went in this area over here. This is especially where you can see the ridges. You can kind of make them out on the map over here. Here's another one, and then one over here. And there we go. So not too far. See, there were the ridges. And yeah. All right, here we're driving left. We have this white car with the long antenna, and that is something you see in Australia. Also, very, very red soil would point me towards Australia as well, and driving left, as you can see. I thought it might be Perth. It was actually Northern Territory. That does make sense with the red soil. Okay, this one, we have these Mediterranean houses, the red tiled roofs, and the stone architecture. And then over here, I could make out, it looks like there might be something on this S over here. So, and then it ends with a K, which would point me towards one of the Yugoslavian languages. And in particular, I would say this is Croatian. Just mainly based off of the architecture. I've seen a lot of these like stone houses. As you can see, most of the houses are this stone or maybe white. And then they all have this red tiled roof. And I see that quite a bit especially in northwestern Croatia and along the coast, because I think it's Venetian influence. Slovenia has a little more alpine architecture usually. So yeah, I go up there. In Istria, it was actually Krk, which is an island close by, but yeah, not too bad. All right, this one I recognize right away. We have the black car with the stubby antenna and then yellow lines over here. Double yellow lines, which means that we can only be in Colombia. All right. This one really was like a landscape sort of thing when I saw it right away. We do have Gen 4 as well, but really the main thing here is like extremely, extremely flat agricultural. And it looks like we have just like these random groups of trees, and that's very, very common in Argentina. And so I know generally like the different Gen 4 coverages in Argentina. There's not too many. There's only a couple of roads that are covered. And so I knew with this one, it just sort of looked like the one in southern La Plata province. So yeah, I was right there. All right, here, this is typical for the Yucatan with these stone, like just like rock fences, or not fences, they're like walls, I guess. And that you see all over the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's like a very easy way to identify like a certain region. So yeah, and then here we have these octagonal poles, and those are found throughout Mexico. So yep. And so now we're already on 40, so pretty quick going through them. But yeah, we still got quite a bit to go. So here, very, very flat, somewhere in the Great Plains, could be US or Canada. But then I see this license plate, and you can kind of make out there's green on each side. It's very, very difficult to see, but you can kind of make it out on this side. And that is the Saskatchewan license plate. And yeah, landscape definitely fits with Saskatchewan. Another thing I noticed quite a bit in Saskatchewan is these yellow like fields. I don't know what plant it is, but I see that quite a bit, especially in Saskatchewan over any other province of Canada. So yeah, and not too far away actually. So I'm very happy with that. Um, this here we got the pole that I talked about for France earlier. It's this concrete pole. It's a little bit wider at the bottom and it gets a little slimmer at the top, and it has like these segments. And then these houses are typical for Brittany, especially gray roofs and this whitish or beigeish color is something you see a lot in Brittany. Um, and so I go somewhere. I don't really go in Brittany, but yeah, I was actually looking at it. I was just going quick through the rounds. Um, Here we got the typical South African signs. Let me go back to them. So, Winburg and Brantford, and then yeah. So the South African signs, they have these like red and white chevrons under, and then green writing, and then sometimes you also see yellow writing, which shows the road number of the road that you're on. All right. Here, same thing. We got the same pole, and then it also says here "rue," so we are definitely in a French-speaking place. And then the yellow license plate is something you do see in France sometimes. Their old license plates were yellow, so some cars do have them. And then again, sort of the same architecture with these yellow or whitish color with the gray roofs. And so I think we should be maybe in Brittany again, or at least somewhere in like northern France. Again, I just kind of click in the middle. Yeah, it was a little bit more like Normandy area, but yeah. All right, here, pretty recognizable landscape, I would say. Definitely feels like Norway, with these mountains. These poles in the ground are something you see in Norway. And then the long dashes. So we got these dashes over here that are pretty long, so they're like twice the gap size. And that is found in Norway. So Sweden would have dashes that are shorter, not as long as the ones in Norway. And also Sweden would really look like this. This is like extremely high up altitude. All right. Here we got yellow lines again, which would say like US or Canada. Fall coverage, which actually tells me a certain country. We have the wooden signpost there. And then here, this sort of blue sign I've never seen in the United States, so I was pretty confident it was Canada. And the fall coverage is something I've seen a lot in Manitoba. So yeah, it was Manitoba. Here, straightforward round, we got the wider car that's like bigger, which means we're closer to the ground, and that means we are in Japan, obviously. All right, here is sort of maybe a little bit more difficult round. We do have Gen 2, and then we do see this pole as well that has this top that's like going out like this in the triangle, and I'm pretty sure that's a French pole. And then just to confirm, we have these blue and white chevrons on the arrows, and blue and white ones are only found in Spain and France, and this doesn't really look like Spain, so we are in France. All right, here La Margherita looks like, which would point me towards Italy, and then here I see the blue on both sides of the license plate, which means 100% we're in Italy. All right, here we have a yellow line. It looks like we're driving on the left, and then we see these white and black bollards. They're like very rectangular, and then yeah, they have this black stripe, and that means we are in Thailand. Also, white wooden signpost, driving on the left, obviously. So yeah, we are in Thailand. Now we're at 50. So here we got a New Zealand bollard. That's really the main thing here. It's like white and it has this, or yeah, white and it has this white bit and then red wrapping around. And then this landscape with these rolling yellowish looking grassy hills. It's very typical, especially for the South Island. So yeah. Here, this sign is Peruvian. So as you can see, it's held up by these two white, I think, concrete blocks. And those are only on signposts in Peru. And then yellow lines as well, very dry looking. The landscape sort of remind me of the southern area. I knew I'd like seen this sort of landscape around Arequipa. I wasn't sure exactly how far south it was. But yeah, it's like very high altitude, as you can see from the mountains, and just like very dry. So felt like it would be down here somewhere. I moved a little bit farther south, but it was, yeah, right next to Arequipa. All right, here we're in the Netherlands. Pretty straightforward, like very, very Dutch looking. These like brick houses, pretty much everything is brick. We have yellow license plate here. The dashes, you do see that in the Netherlands, and then this like red outline is something I see quite a bit in on Dutch roads, or sometimes even the whole road is red and it's like this like brick pavement, I guess. All right. Here we have the Kenyan car. So it has this little like gray or white thing on the front, and then over here there's a mirror on the left. So you can see either that car or the one with the snorkel. So I was thinking we're probably near Nairobi from the looks of it. All right. Here we got tons of oil palms, which is very common for Malaysia. And then you do also see it on Sumatra sometimes, but especially in Malaysia, both on the mainland and Borneo side. And so I go on the Borneo side, but it was in mainland, I believe. Yep, it was, but it was still Malaysia, so it doesn't really matter. Um, I wouldn't. I don't know if there was like really any way to tell apart Malaysia versus Indonesia, but I think it just felt more like Malaysia there. So yeah. All right, here these are very very typical signs for Ghana. So you got like church signs, and then it says like the district, and then here you got the car with the black tape and the mirrors. So yeah. All right. This one again, typical South African sign, Gen 2. And I don't think I try and pinpoint. Just yeah, go into South Africa. Not too far away either. All right. This one is pretty tough just looking at it. We don't have too much to go off of. The signs are pretty generic, I would say. Um, and then I do look at this car, and then I can actually just somewhat make out. It looks like an HR, which would lead me to believe that it's Croatia. So a lot of the Yugoslav countries have like these signs, or I think Hungary does as well. Yeah, just sort of those Eastern European countries have these little things on the back of the car that say like HR or HU or whatever other country. So yeah, the yellow and black arrows, I don't know if I've ever seen that in Croatia before, and I'm not sure if that's something really to go off of. It is a little bit weird, but yeah, just trying to see if there's anything else that would tell me, but I think really that's the only thing. Gotta hope that the car isn't like moving in another country. But yeah, it was Croatia, so that's good. All right, here we have a white car, very very dry, sandy. These like big like walls is something you also see quite a bit in the United Arab Emirates. So yeah, also this palm over here just feels a lot like something you would see in the UAE. And yeah, the white car is like with no antenna is only in UAE out of the Middle Eastern countries. And yeah, I'm thinking we're probably somewhere in the Dubai area because it felt pretty urban. All right, there we got Turkish language. It had the C with the little thing over it, or under it, sorry. And then the U's with the two umlauts. So, quick Turkey. And now we're on 60. All right, here, US or Canada again. These sort of little bumps in the road are something you see quite a bit in the US especially. And then over here, this sign tells me the actual state. So it's a diamond sign, and then here it's kind of difficult to make out, but it's an M, and that means we're in Michigan. Sorry, Michigan. That sign is specific to Michigan. All right, here we got yellow lines again, but this sort of feels more like Argentina. I don't really know how to explain it. I think sun might be facing north. These poplar trees over here, very common in Argentina, and just sort of feels more dry, more remote. Doesn't really feel that much like the United States, although I could see how people maybe could mistake it for it. But really, it was just like knowing the landscape, I guess, and I've had a pretty confident like guess that it would be somewhere down here, like southern Neuquén, just based off of the landscape. So I go around there. It was just a little bit farther south, but yep. All right. Here, there's two things. This bollard, which could be Spain. It could also be like Portugal, the Baltics, but obviously we're not in the Baltics with this landscape. And then we do have these thick, like red outlines on these signs, and that's something specific to Spain. So I'm pretty confident it's Spain, just taking a little bit more time now just to make sure. Looking at here, and then I see here we got Restaurante El Saldo de los Montes, which means we should definitely be in Spain. All right, here, pretty typical landscape for the Balkans, I would say, like very rocky, rocky mountains, like this white color. And then here we have Cyrillic, and so that means we can be in like Albania or Croatia, for example. And then I also saw we had an antenna on the car. If I go back just a bit here, which means that it couldn't be Macedonia or Serbia. So really I was left with Montenegro. And so zoom into Montenegro. All right. Here, this is like pretty typical landscape for the North Island of New Zealand. I do see these, I don't know what they are. They might be pine trees. I do see that quite a bit in New Zealand. And then these rolling hills that are kind of like green, kind of this yellowish color. And then some pine forests as well. That's very common, especially on the North Island. You do also see it on the South Island, actually, but yeah. And then here we have the bollards as well, and that yellow sign for the street sign means we could only be in New Zealand. All right. Here, yellow and white solid lines, which is something I've only ever seen in New Zealand. And then white signpost as well, driving left, as you can see. And then some pine forest again, or evergreen, I guess. And pretty similar landscape, I would say. So yeah, once again, going North Island. All right. Here we can see a rift, and then just very African looking, and so that means we could only be in Senegal with the rift. Here, black car we can make out, and then yellow lines, double yellow lines, which means we should be in Argentina. This sort of red soil is something I've seen a lot, especially in Neuquén province. I don't know if I go there. No, okay. It wasn't actually Neuquén province, yeah. But I have seen that quite a bit in Neuquén province, but yeah. All right, here The black car is a little weird. That's not something you see a lot in Estonia. But really, what's telling me Estonia here is this green blur. I don't know how to explain it, but it looks really green. And then if you look in like the distance at the trees, a lot of times they appear like very dark, like a dark green color. Um, and that's something specific to Estonia. It's very hard to make out. It's something that like once you see it a lot, like you need to have like a lot of experience with it to really tell apart like the Estonian green blur. And so yeah, we should be in Estonia here. All right. Here you can make out the mirror on the car and the bars, and the landscape, pretty green, some like mountains, and I think there might be even a volcano over there. Just yeah, it means we should be in Guatemala, and I think I know where it might be. So there's a couple of volcanoes around here. There's one over here, and I think there's one over here as well. And so that's why I went around here. See, I'm pointing like which areas it might be. It was a little far that way, but yeah. All right, here we're in low cam, yellow line in the middle, which means we should be in Japan. Also the vertical yellow and black stripes, which I talked about. So, pretty easy one as well. Here we got these yellow lines, very, very red soil, and just like agriculture. These concrete poles as well, they're pretty much the same as the French ones that I showed. They have like the segments, and then yeah, that sign as well, the blue one. And just like this very agricultural feeling, that's like maybe slightly drier, but it's like rolling hills and a ton of agriculture. That's like very typical for this area, Mato Grosso do Sul, Sao Paulo, and Paraná. So yeah, it looks like we're in Mato Grosso do Sul. All right, here we're in Russia. So these bollards that they put along the intersections, they put a bunch of them for some reason. And then over here, the white signpost with the black bottom, which means we are 100% in Russia. All right. Here we have a French bollard, it looks like. So yeah, the kind of thicker bollard with this red stripe over here. And then the dashed outside lines as well. Here we got yellow inside lines looking like the US or Canada. We got these evergreen trees, which actually point me towards the Pacific Northwest. They're very tall evergreen trees. And they kind of I think they look like larches. I don't know if they are larches, but yeah, they have like these kind of droopy leaves. And then elm prairie. And then this sign just kind of felt more like the U.S. I'm not sure if this construction sign is something you see in Canada. I know I've seen it a lot in the United States, but don't know if it's in Canada. But yeah. So I was thinking the Pacific Northwest, thought maybe Washington. And yeah, it was Washington. Okay. Here, very, very red soil. And then this car where you can just make out the mirrors and a bit of the white part on the outside. And then yellow license plate. Points me towards Uganda, and Uganda only has coverage in the Kampala and Tebe area, so easy, good score there. Here we have the car I talked about in Kenya, black car with the mirror on the left side in the front. Okay, here we got yellow lines, and it looks like we're driving on the left, so that would mean that we should be in Thailand. There was a yellow plate there, which was kind of strange. We were right by the border with Laos, which probably explains it. That guy was probably from Laos, because they do have yellow plates. Here, I was looking at this. I don't know if it has a blue strip, but then I do see this red and white bollard, which is out of European countries only in Poland. All right, here we have this bollard, which is the type you see in Croatia and Hungary mostly, but you do also see them sometimes in Macedonia and Serbia. And this landscape that's like a little bit drier, maybe a little more Mediterranean feeling, and with these rolling hills, and sort of like this late summer feel to it, like kind of harvest season looking like, is very typical for Macedonia. So I actually go out here in the east. I think I recognize the landscape a little bit. Um, Maybe I had a previous round near there, but yeah, I go there, and it turns out it was right in the east. I was pretty happy about it, as you could see. And now we're on 80, so wow, yeah. Here, this sort of house definitely feels like the UK or Ireland, white with like the gray roof, and then I see here .uk. And I feel like it would be something you'd see more in like Scotland than England, really. So yeah, I go there, and it was Scotland. All right, here I was trying to see if we could see the car, but we can't. But Sri Lanka usually has a red blur on the right side over here, but you can't really see it this time. But then I do see this pole. It's a concrete pole, and it's like rectangular. Doesn't have any segments, but yeah, that's the type you'd see in Sri Lanka. And then really like this asphalt, like it's a certain specific color of gray. I do see that quite a bit in Sri Lanka as well. And then the red tiled roof. Tiled roofs aren't something you see that much in a lot of Asian countries, but Sri Lanka, like almost every house has a red tiled roof, especially in like rural areas. All right. Here, the asphalt is like very similar, but we're actually not in Sri Lanka. This white car means that we can't be in Sri Lanka. Um, and here we don't really have much to go off of. It's very dry, kind of, as you can see, but it's definitely tropical, and it feels like it's probably in Southeast Asia, but it really doesn't look like any country in particular, I would say. So a lot of times, like just based off my knowledge from a rural world, if it's something really weird like this where you can't really like think of what country it could be, a lot of times it's Indonesia, and the white car is something you can find in Indonesia. So yeah, I was definitely thinking that, and it was pretty dry. So a lot of times the drier parts of Indonesia are in those southeastern islands like Timor, and Nusa Tenggara and those ones, Sumba as well. So yeah, I'm just looking around, trying to figure out if it could be anything else, but really I think Indonesia is my main choice. So I go somewhere out here. I go Timor. It actually turns out to be just this random island in the middle of like the Java Sea in Indonesia, which was a little strange, but yeah, whatever. It was still Indonesia, so I could care less. All right, here it looks like we got a cornfield over there. And then yeah, look here. This house definitely feels like the US or Canada with that garage. Um, and really, I was leaning more towards the US with the cornfield. Um, yeah, just making sure that it's not Canada, but really it just felt more like the US. There's not like too many northern looking trees like evergreens, just sort of mid latitude trees like temperate trees. So I was thinking it would probably be somewhere in the US, and it was, I believe, Pennsylvania. So yeah. All right. Here, the signs, like these arrows, looked a little strange for the United States. I think usually they say one way on them, and I think the arrows might look a little different. It looks like we have a wooden signpost as well, which would point me towards Canada. Um, and then this sort of like wintry coverage is something I've seen a lot in Western Ontario. So that's where I was thinking we could be. Yeah, just making sure, as you can see as well, these like pencil looking pines, they're like very slim. That's something you see a lot in like, especially in northern parts of Canada. And so yeah, I was thinking somewhere maybe like Western Ontario. Turned out it was actually Manitoba, but it was like on this main road. So I think they might have like done the same coverage when they were covering Western Ontario. They went on the Canada one all the way up to Winnipeg maybe. All right, here you got these like stone walls around the houses, which I talked about for South Africa. Also Gen 1, which means it couldn't be any other country in Southern Africa. All right. And then here as well, we got Gen 1 or Gen 2, sorry. And then African sort of name. And so that means we could only be in South Africa. Here it says Boa Viagem, which means like safe travels, I guess. And that's Portuguese. And then yeah, over here as well, just making sure that's Portuguese. And then obviously this has to be Brazil, very red soil, yellow inside lines. And I felt it might be somewhere like a little farther north or in like the Amazonian region because it felt quite jungly. All right, here, pretty typical look for the United States, I would say. Yellow inside lines. Really not much to go off here. Just looks like the Great Plains, especially with these like maybe slightly rolling hills. That's something I see a bit in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota. Yeah, just like green grassland. And I think what is that? 25. It should be, yeah, it's Wyoming actually we were in. So, yeah, right over the border, but it was like that Great Plains region. Here are the French signs I was talking about. So, they're like white with like black writing, and they have this certain font. It's like very blocky. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, that means we're in France. All right, here it says Tilsalg, which I think til means four in a lot of Scandinavian languages. I'm not sure if it's only Danish or if other languages have that, maybe Norwegian. But yeah, I was definitely thinking Denmark with this sort of landscape, just like relatively flat, like rolling hills, and like just a lot of like this grass. That's very common. And then this blue sign is very typical for Denmark as well. They say like "vej" on them. It's the street signs. Um, and then I'm looking just to make sure. This flagpole, that's very common in Denmark. A lot of houses have these like very skinny flags that are flying. This one doesn't. It's just a pole, but yeah. And then these houses that are like longer, then they have like some wooden elements, and then the rest is like stone. That's very common for um, Denmark. This one was interesting. So this is an RE, which means it's coverage that is not official coverage. It's taken by like another third party. So it usually means that like it's worse quality and it kind of ruins the actual coverage. And so here, can't really make out that sign, but it's like the type. I think it said like it had like a J letter, like a JE, which is like common for like Yugoslav countries, and it just looks like the type we saw earlier in Croatia. And then here, actually, we had a very helpful sign that says Split and Šibenik, and I know both of those towns. They are on the coast of Croatia. So yeah, Split and Šibenik over there. Here, very typical Dutch-looking area. So these brick houses, this like diagonal. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's like a brick or something. That's like a pattern that you see on the roads in the Netherlands. And then this red road that I was talking about earlier as well. And then these signs with the VEG, like blue signs that say VEG, are typical street signs for Netherlands. All right, here definitely feels like somewhere in the Andes, a little bit drier. So I was thinking maybe like Peru or Bolivia from the looks of it. These eucalyptus trees as well. all over the place. And then I see the black car, so it could only be Peru. So Bolivia has white car, and then Peru has black and white car, so it can have both of them. So with the black car, it could mean only Peru out of the two. Here we got Gen 4 coverage, so a little bit like higher contrast, better colors, saturation, which means out of the countries that like speak or have like a script that like looks similar to this, could only be Thailand. And then yeah, basically you can tell it's also the Thai script. I think this letter is like only found in Thai. It's like very tall and skinny, and it has this like little bit at the top. So yeah, that would point me towards Thailand as well. And there we go. And now we're at 95. So I think the highest I got on a country streak in when I was like on the channel was 93. And so that means I beat it already. So here, can't really make that out, but here we got a bollard. So this bollard is in Austria and Slovenia. It's got this black top and like either a red or gray bit going down the side here, you can see as well. And so yeah, I'm trying to figure out whether it would be Austria or Slovenia. And then I see here Offen, and then also here this Haltestelle sign, which would mean it could only be Austria because it's German. Pretty good score as well. Got like the right sort of general area. All right, this one confused me a little bit. So you see it says Cap de Creus, and then Tudela, and it has it like in 3 different languages. So I was thinking it's probably Catalan, but I'm not like entirely like confident about Catalan, to be honest. And so I thought I might like actually look for this location. So Cap de Creus and Tudela, maybe it would come up. I wasn't sure if it might be the Balearic Islands, because it felt like it might be an island just looking at the landscape. So yeah, I spent a little time looking on each of the islands, Ibiza, Menorca, Mallorca, but I don't see it. But really with the landscape, it has to be one of those. But then I actually look here, and it was just like the very northern tip of Spain. But yeah, I was looking at the language, and it had to be Catalan. So I was pretty sure it should be Spain. Just got the wrong area. All right, here, the main thing is this winter coverage. And the winter coverage in Eastern Europe is mostly in Bulgaria, Czechia, and Hungary. But with these houses, they have these tiled roofs, and they often have like this gray stone for their houses. That is like very typical for Macedonia and Bulgaria, but with this winter coverage, it should be Bulgaria. All right, here we got Spanish, and it actually says Rio Meta there. Also, the black car with the kind of stubby antenna is only in Colombia out of the Latin American countries. And I actually knew the Rio Meta was this river over here. So I thought we would probably be somewhere near it. And yep, we're a little farther that way. This one looks pretty standard for the United Kingdom, I would say. I just wanted to make sure that it's not Ireland or maybe even like some really weird France. We got the sheep there, the stone buildings, like that grey stone, which I said is mostly in like northern England and Scotland. Definitely feels like that area with these hills. They're like that brownish color, no trees. And so yeah, that really we should be somewhere either in northern England or Scotland. And so I'm just spending a little time looking around. I can just go forward a little. And so yeah, I think I go in northern England. Let's see where exactly it was. It was northern England, North Pennines, that sort of area. All right, here we got these short dashes, like really short dashes, which I said are in Sweden, and then this sign that's like yellow with red, uh, like a red outline or a red arrow, is only in Sweden, and those point to like either like really small villages, I think, or like small like I don't know exactly, but usually you don't find those things on the map. So here, didn't really know if that's like a bollard or anything, but just looking around, it really felt like Mexico, this sort of landscape. Like a lot of just this like very flat, like this like grassy open plain with like some trees. And then the color of the road is something I've noticed in Mexico. It's like this light gray color. And that's very typical, especially in like Yucatan and like Tabasco and somewhere like Veracruz, that area. Um, Especially like, and as well with the landscape, like this very like flat plains feel. So I go, I think, Veracruz, but it was Yucatan, yeah. All right, here we got the black car with the long antenna, which means we should be in Russia. Just making sure, I think, yeah, I click in Russia and then I try and read and see if it says anything in particular, but I don't think it has any uh, town name or region name on it. And we're just kind of in the middle of Siberia. All right, here, these retorno signs are very common in Brazil. Black back signs is also something in Brazil. And then if you see here, we actually have like white inside lines on this road. And that's only on divided highways in Brazil. I didn't realize that before, but now I know that, yeah, they have like white inside lines, but this is only on divided highways, so everywhere else you should have yellow. So there we go. And this was probably my most difficult round, so saying now. Definitely feels like somewhere in the Baltic. I don't know what that bollard is. I don't think it's anything specific, but really you can tell based off the landscapes, like some pine trees, some birch trees, this very grassy feel, pretty flat, just feels a lot like the Baltic. And then you do have these houses as well with the wooden roofs, and they're like this gray color. That's very typical for the Baltics as well. But really, I had no clues to go off of here to see like which country it is. There's some bollards over there, I think, maybe in the distance, but I can't make them out. They're way too far for me to actually see. And I don't see any green blur, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be Estonia. But it could very well be like Latvia or Lithuania as well. So I'm trying to figure out which country it would be of the three Baltic countries. And then, yeah, I'm just trying to look around. I see there's maybe a lake or something, maybe a coast. I think there might be some land in the distance over here. So probably a lake, um, or maybe a bay of sorts. And so really I'm like, there's not much I can do here. I can either just go and guess one, just go with my feeling, or I could actually try and look for the exact location because it could maybe be doable since we have a lake. And so that's what I do since I'm at 104. I don't want to lose the streak, especially since I'm so close to a record, but not quite there. And so, yeah, maybe look around a little bit more, but then I zoom into the map and start looking and seeing around like different lakes, as you can see here, seeing if there's any roads to the north, like small roads. And so I think I start in Estonia first, looking all around the country, seeing if it could be anywhere. Thought maybe that might fit, but I don't think so. Yeah, looking at some bays as well. Looking over here by the border on Lake Narva, I think, or the Narva River. But that doesn't really make sense. And so, yeah, really I just checked all of Estonia from the looks of it, as you can see. So there's not many other places it could be in Estonia. And so at some point, I think I go and look in Latvia. Yeah, looking on these islands as well first. And then I go down to Latvia and check. Here, there's like a lake. But that doesn't really fit. And then I think I go, yeah, just a little bit further up. And then I see this, and I'm like, this actually might fit. So our road curves a little bit over here. And then we have that road coming off to the north, maybe slightly northwest. And that does look like it might fit. And then our road curves down to the south over here. And so we do also see that on the map over here. And so I'm pretty sure this is it, judging by what it looks like. And I don't know if I'm going to find anything better. So yeah, I'm just checking the houses as well to make sure that there's this group of houses over there on each side. It looks like there's a bunch of houses on that side. Looks like there might be houses in that forest over there, but I don't see them. But I do see a campground, so it might be that campground that we're looking at. And then over here we also have a group of houses, which I think I could see on the map as well. So yeah, just making sure. Yeah, kind of confused about that campground over there, but there's really not much better that I could go off of. So I will click there. And I got a 5K. So yeah, as you can see, I'm really, really happy about that because that was just like a extremely difficult one. There's nothing to go off of. And so really just trying to actually look for the location was the best thing I could do there. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta like brute force it and find the exact location if you really don't know for sure. So yeah, here, yellow license plates, these blue signs, which like point to cities, I think. Those are Dutch, and then also this like brick everywhere on the houses. So in the Netherlands, back to easy stuff again. Here we got a Turkish bollard. They're white, like flat, and then they have like this red bit or gray bit looking. It depends on which side you're looking at. Australia has the same bollards, but obviously this is in Australia. And yeah, just checking, making sure, because when you're at 107, you don't want to lose by just rushing quickly. So here, this plate with the yellow and then like a little bit of a white gradient at the bottom is a New Jersey plate. So I just immediately zoom into New Jersey because I know that license plate. Here, typical look for South Africa again, these stone walls guarding the houses, and Gen 2. Got pretty close as well, just guessing like Pretoria, I think. Here, Organico, some Romance language, couldn't really make out what it said there. But Casa Rurale and Valle di Cembra tells me that we should be in Italy. And it really looks like we might be somewhere in the mountains. I wasn't sure exactly where. I just kind of guessed in the Po Valley, it looks like. But yeah, we should be somewhere in the mountains in the north, Trento. All right, here we got Thai again. We also got Gen 4, so can't be Laos or Cambodia. It was down there, but it was definitely going to be Thailand. Here, typical look for the United Arab Emirates. Very, very like pale colored buildings. The white car, which I talked about, can only be UAE out of the Middle Eastern countries, and driving Ray as well. And yeah, I'm just making sure 100%. Since I'm so far, there's also some Arabic there. So yeah, I can confidently go into the UAE. and we were again by Dubai. All right, here Gen 2 again, yellow outside lines, white inside lines. Tell me that we should be in South Africa. I just go Pretoria again. Obviously it's not Pretoria, but I don't really care. Here, low cam, so closer to the ground. Also feels very Japanese with these buildings. So yeah. Here, very typical landscape for Northern Territory. I've talked about it in my other videos. The double white lines as well, and the white car with the long antenna, all point me towards Australia. And so now I'm on 115, which is already second place, I believe. And here, this is an Australian baller. This one's a little different from the one I talked about earlier. So not quite like the one in Turkey and Australia. This one's just a red dot, but that's something you can also see in Australia. And pretty much every tree here is eucalyptus. So I thought it might be Tasmania. It was just the normal part of Australia. Here, yellow outside or yellow solid line and white dashes, which is Uruguay and Argentina. But this felt like Argentina. It was a little too dry for Uruguay. This one was a very, very tough one. This is like the type of round you'd see in a rural world. So can't really make out that bollard. There's a bollard over there in the distance. We got this row of trees. The road was even weird. It kind of looked a little bit poor quality. We had some big mountains over there. And really couldn't make out like any architecture except for these. But it was kind of generic looking. I couldn't really tell out of those. As you can see, I see that bollard, but I can't really make out what it looks like. It looks like it might be like a slightly diagonal stripe on that bollard, but I'm not entirely sure. And so that kind of makes me lean a certain country or a certain couple of countries. And as well as looking at this landscape. So we have these big mountains and this very agricultural feel, which really made me think of Slovakia at first. So you got the Carpathians going through that area, and then Slovakia does have a lot of this corn agriculture. So that was really what I was thinking of at that point. The bollard would match with those because Slovakia does have like a diagonal like black bit going down that has like the yellow like two yellow stripes on it. But I really could not make it out from there. So yeah, like I said earlier, the road was like poor quality, which made me like lean away from somewhere in Western Europe. I did think of like France. I think France would be like the only real big option from Western Europe. Austria as well. But it just sort of felt weird for France or Austria in my eyes. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't really see it like being any of those countries. But those are really the main three with the big mountains and the agriculture. So France, Austria, and Slovakia. But I was really leaning Slovakia here. And so I'm just trying to look around, see if there's anything in particular I can see. There's one pole over there. There's another pole over there. And I could maybe sort of make out there's like a little triangle bit on top, and that's something you do actually see a lot in France on French poles, but then I've also seen it like a little bit on Slovakian poles. So really I don't know why I just sort of disregarded France. I guess other things were pointing me away from France, but I was really like leaning towards Slovakia here, just looking at everything. And so I clicked Slovakia, just making sure. That house as well kind of felt like a little shack. Felt more like something you would see in Slovakia than France. And then looking around, there's really not much to go off of. and so I clicked Slovakia. And yeah, unfortunately, it was France. It was in the Alsace region, so right by the border with Germany. Um, and yeah, so pretty unfortunate. I think the only thing there was the pole. Like you could see in the distance, that's like a typical French pole that you see sometimes with that like little triangle on the top of the pole. Um, and the bollard, really, I couldn't make it out. Like you could maybe say it was horizontal, not diagonal, which would mean that it would be like the French one with the red horizontal stripe, but I just couldn't tell from there. So yeah, everything else, it was kind of weird for France, I'll be honest. I don't know, like looking back, if I just had it without that pole, electricity pole, that I would ever go France there. I would probably lean Slovakia like anytime. So yeah, it's a little unfortunate. I got 117, which was just two off of first place, held by South by, another great player. Um, so yeah, I'll take second place though, definitely, because I was knocked off. I think I was fourth place, and so yeah, to get back up onto the top three definitely feels good. So yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's, let's see, how long did I take? An hour and 16 minutes. So pretty much the amount of time I took for the last video, which I did like 93. But I definitely think it's probably better for me to just explain it afterwards, because I feel more relaxed when I'm actually playing, and then when I'm talking, I usually know what I should say, and just like from hindsight, it's probably better. Yeah. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.